Do you like dogs? Perro? Dogs? I like dogs. Let's look at some dogs. This is a site, it's public, it's called whatdog.net. And in this site, I can look at a picture of a dog, like this one right here, and it'll tell me what kind of dog is in the photograph. And it is right there. It's a poodle. It's in English. Let's try another one. I don't know the Spanish word for this dog. What kind of dog is this? The English word is Dalmatian. It sounded very similar to that, and that's what it is, yeah. And just so you know it's not cheating, I can actually go and search for a dog out here. Like there was a movie called Beethoven about a dog, and it was this Saint Bernard. Let's see if that works. We'll try that one. And it got that right. Actually, it's better at identifying dogs than many people are. There's a lot of dogs I don't know. It's able to look at pictures, which are just pixels of color, and figure out the shape of the ears and the length of the hair, and based on that, what breed of dog it's looking at. Here's another similar site. This one is called howold.net. It's another public site. And this, instead of looking at dogs, it looks at pictures of people, and it finds the faces in the photograph, and it'll tell you how old each person is based on their face. See the wrinkles around their eyes and the gray hair and so on. It works. Here's two people that are 31 years old. Here's a group of people that varying ages, they're different skin tones. Some are smiling and some are not. Oops. Go back here. Use this. My mouse is acting up. There we go, right there. 25, even a 2-year-old is there, etc. And this will work too, like I could go out and search for one, or you can also grab a photo locally. Let's take this picture of this good-looking fellow here. And it's kind of depressing how accurate this system actually is. So what's happening is that this system has already looked at lots of photographs of dogs and photographs of people, and it's been given information, mostly through bing.com, about what does a Saint Bernard look like, or what does a poodle look like, based on the length of the hair, the shape of the nose and the ears and so on. What does a 56-year-old man look like? What does a 2-year-old baby look like? And from that, because it's looked at so many of them, it's able now to infer what the age or the breed of dog is from a photo it's never seen before. It's doing something called machine learning. Who here has experience with machine learning? I see a handful of hands go up, just a few people raise their hand. Those guys are making a lot of money. Machine learning is in high demand. If you don't believe me, just add machine learning to your LinkedIn profile and watch the spam increase exponentially. Machine learning is an amazing tool. I mean, it's amazing science, and there are great tools inside of Azure to make it easier, but there are still challenges with machine learning. For one thing, it takes a lot of data, it takes a lot of compute power, and it takes a lot of time. Excuse me. And it takes a lot of time. And most of us don't have any of those things at all. But Microsoft does. Microsoft has Azure, which is our cloud computing platform. These are data centers all over the world with thousands and thousands of computers in each data center, and we can process that. And this machine learning has already been done for you, and it's exposed to you, the developer, as a simple set of web services. And that's what I'm going to talk about, is a set of web services that are collectively known as cognitive services. My name is David. I work for Microsoft. I am a technical evangelist, and I've come a very long way to be here. I traveled all the way from the other side of the world, from an exotic land called Chicago. And this is, by the way, my very first trip ever to South America. I am really excited about being here. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I want to talk to you about cognitive services. You can sign up for these. These are free. You do need an Azure account, but there are free services inside of Azure that you can use. If you want to actually start using them at scale, if you want to start building a business around them, then you can start paying for them because there are limits on the free account, but to start learning them and start playing with them, absolutely free. The way to get started is, I'll just type it in here again because this is kind of a long URL here. I have trouble remembering it, and so I always remember Microsoft.com/cognitive, and that helps me to remember it. That'll get me there. Enter. And it brings me up to this page right here. And on here, you can see there are categories of services that are available to you. There's the Vision API, all sorts of things for analyzing images and what's in those images. And that's the one we were looking at, that the whatdog.net was calling in the background. There's a knowledge API for doing some things about information sharing, doing things like recommendations for products. There's language, which will do natural language processing. Lewis is a part of that. There's speech, does text-to-speech and speech-to-text and some other tools there. And there's search, which taps into the power of Bing, which you can use right here. Today I'm going to mostly focus on the Vision API right here. And there are lots of services inside of there. And if I click on them, you'll see a list of these different services: computer vision, content moderator, video indexer, face, emotion, and custom vision service. Now, I have a short period of time, so I can't even cover all of these, but I'll go into a few of them. I'll start with the computer vision API. And if I click on that, it takes me to this page here, and it shows examples of using the computer vision API. So it's already grabbed a sample picture here and called the web service in the back end, the computer vision cognitive services web service on the back end, which returned a bunch of data. And the data is actually returned as JSON. JSON is just a simple way of formatting data. It's nice and small and compact, so it works well on the internet. And it's a standard, but what the designers of this page have done is they've formatted it into a nice HTML table or a nice, they use some CSS to make that look pretty. But for this picture, you can see some important things are, there's a caption right here, and it's text. It's a man swimming in a pool of water. Well, it did pretty good. That's exactly what it is. It even has a confidence level of 0.89. So it's 89% sure that this is, in fact, a man swimming in a pool of water. And there are tags down here like sport and pool and person with confidence levels for each one of those. So if you wanted to categorize things, you could do that. There's information about the type of image it is, the size, is it clip art? Is it a line drawing? Is it black and white? Is it adult content or is it racy content? This is if you're worried about people uploading dirty pictures to your website. Maybe you have a site that you're allowing people to upload their own pictures and then you're displaying them on your page. Well, there's a risk involved in that. What if they upload some pornography? This could automate that or semi-automate that, where you say, well, you know what? If this has an adult score above 70%, you know, I don't want to put it on my site. I want to kill it with fire. If it's above 40%, I want to have a human being look at it and make sure it's okay. And if it's below 40%, it's probably okay. So you could do things like that. It detects the faces in here. So this may be where they're getting the how old is getting its age, the gender. This rectangle uniquely identifies where the face is, with the top, left, width, and height. And the designers of this page wrote a little JavaScript to draw a rectangle around this face. And also, when you hover over it, you see the gender and the age on there. And I can do that for a couple of things here. Like this one right here illustrates the difference between the racy score and the adult score. Adult is false, but racy is true. I think the fact that her navel, her belly button is showing, makes it racy, but it's not a dirty picture, so therefore it's not a high adult score, and so on. This is interesting. This one here, it actually is wrong. They leave it in here, I think, as an example of what can be wrong. It is it's a line drawing of a lion drawing, and it is you'll notice it says, where is it here? A drawing of a face. Clearly that's wrong. It's not a drawing of a face, but it has a low confidence level. It's less than 50% confident of that. So at least it's admitting that it's wrong in here. And you can see if you scroll down here, other things, there's like optical character recognition. If I grab this one right here, it'll read all of the text in this picture. It's a picture of text. A goal without a plan is just a wish. It came right here, and etc. Information on that. You can see actually the raw JSON right here. Here's the data that actually came back. Here they've just formatted it in a nice format for you to read easily. What else is in here? Handwriting recognition, celebrity recognition. Anybody know who that is? Nobody? You can shout about. Shahed knows. It's Satya Nadella, who is, if you don't know, Satya is my boss's 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 boss. He never calls me. So there's some video stuff, analyzing videos, thumbnail images. You think creating a thumbnail from a large image would be easy, right? You just shrink it down. But what if you have some important part of that picture and you want to make sure that stays in the thumbnail image? Like this one right here, that's fine if you're keeping the ratio the same, but changing a portrait picture to a landscape picture or to a square picture, something like that, involves some cropping. We want to make sure we don't crop out the most important part of the picture, and it's made an effort to do this. And here you can see the most important part of this picture is this man standing on top of or maybe it's a woman, this person standing on top of a rock. And in every case, they've made an effort to keep that, if they could, inside of the thumbnail image, even if they had to crop something. Now, if we want to actually start working with this, let me go up to here. Then there's some documentation in here, and I would encourage you to read that. That's more text about the background and the philosophy of it. But right here is the API. I think a lot of people at the conference are developers, and we're interested in the API, the inputs and the outputs. Now, and this is the documentation on that. It's a web service, and we're just going to call a URL, http://cognitive.cognitive.com/vision/v1.0/analyze. You might want to write that down. That's a lot to remember. And then there are some query string parameters in there as well. So we'll start with this something here. This is the location. And these are the valid locations for this service. Just in the Vision API, you can see you have all these different services available to you. And they are available in these regions. Azure actually has more regions than this. And so, for example, I don't see, oh yeah, I do it. There's one in South America, Brazil South. There's a data center in southern Brazil that you could use for this. Now, this region has to match the one that you signed up for. And the way you sign up for it is through Azure. And you can go to azure.com and get a free trial if you haven't got a trial yet. Or you can sign up for it with a credit card and start using it. And it only charges you for the service that you're using. And these are free services, so there shouldn't be any risk of cost in that. Also, if you have an MSDN license, how many have an MSDN license? Many people do. It comes with free Azure. Even if it's your employer's MSDN license that they've given to you, you can still use that and activate your Azure account. All right, so in here, I can create a new key by selecting new. Oh, it's nice and slow. Come on. Well, let me go into all resources and show you the keys that I've created already. But if you want to, you can create new and search for cognitive services and create a key that way. But I've already created one, and for my Vision API, it is, I think I called it DGCog something. Oh, naming conventions are good. And so in here, I have face, emotion, custom face, computer vision right here. So I created this already. And in here, this tells, when I created it, it asked me in what region do I want to put this key, and also it asked me what do I want to name it. And then it assigned me a couple of keys. So here's let's see, the region is West US. That's where I created it. And then the keys, if I click on Show Access Keys right here, I'll be able to see them. There are two keys. You can use either one. The only reason there are two is because one of them might get compromised. So let's say that you were in a room full of strangers and you accidentally showed your key on the screen and they all saw it. That might be motivation to change that key so they don't use it. And while it's being regenerated, then you can use the second key. That's why there are two. So I can copy that key to my clipboard and use it in cognitive services. All right, we're going to come back to that. Right here, this is, so West US is the one that I used right here. And so my URL will be https:// westus.apa, blah, 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 et cetera, /analyze, and then these query string parameters right here. And they're explained down here. First one is visual features. That's right here. That's a comma-delimited list of the information that I want this service to return. So if I want description, I will add description. I'll say visual features equals description. If I want both the description and the faces information, I'll say visual features equals description, comma, faces, etc. The next is details. Details is another comma-delimited list of celebrities and or landmarks. Landmarks are famous buildings or natural formations that it can return. And then language is the language. Right now only 2 languages are supported, English and Chinese. I'm hopeful that that'll increase in the future, but that's what we have right now. And that's it, that's the call. Right here, that's the URL, and you can optionally add these parameters to it. Along with that, with every HTTP call, you always send headers. And the headers you're going to send are content type and OCP APIM subscription key. The key, the subscription key is just this key right here. So that's simple. And then the content type really depends upon how I'm going to send this image to it. I'm going to send it an image in the body, but I have a couple of options how to do that. My options are I can point to an image online somewhere by sending it the URL, and the way I do that is I'll send it JSON, and if I decide to do that, then my content type will be application/JSON. So if I do this, then my content type in the header will be application/JSON. But I could also send the image itself as a binary object, in which case I would either set it to octet stream if it's coming from an application, maybe from an iPhone app, or I would set it to form data if I'm submitting it from a web form. So one of those two. And those will be the content type, depending on how I send it. Once I do that, now I've got it. I've got a simple URL with some query string parameters, 2 things in the header, and it is up at the top it says it is a post right here. Documentation, I will post to that URL, and that's it. What I'll get back is a response, an HTTP response. HTTP responses always have a status code, and hopefully that code is 200. 200 means good, everything is okay. And if it is 200, you'll get something that looks like this. It'll be categories, and then this bracket here means it's an array of categories, so all the categories will be in here, and then, where is it? Somewhere's description. Well, let me just go through here. Here's celebrities. It was a picture of Satya Nadella, apparently. Landmarks, I guess it was Satya Nadella at the Forbidden City. Information about whether it's racy or adult content here. Some tags. There's the description right here, the caption. Satya Nadella sitting on a bench, etc. And this will change based on what you put in those query string parameters. Maybe you won't get all this. Like if I don't care about celebrities, I can make my packet a little bit smaller by just not asking about celebrities, for example. If I have a problem, you'll get some response that starts with 400. And here's some things that could happen. Maybe it's an invalid image, like you've pointed to an image that doesn't exist. It may be a bad image format. I think it supports JPEGs, GIFs, and PNGs. So if you try to send some other image format, that would fail. Image size, there's actually a minimum maximum size. So if I think anything over, I think it's 4 megabytes or 8 megabytes, I forgot, but there is a maximum size of the image. And things, if you spell something wrong, you'll get errors. So there are various reasons why you might get errors back. What you want to check for is to make sure that response is a valid response. It's a 200 response that comes back. One common thing is if I got my application key or my subscription key wrong. I may type that in wrong, or I may match the wrong region. Maybe I have the right key but the wrong region. I would get an authentication error in that case. All right, so this is documentation of how it's supposed to work. Let's see it in action, and there happens to be a little test portal in here. I can just click on one of these regions here. I want to click on the one that actually my key was created in. So I clicked on West US, and here I can actually make a call to that web service. So here are the visual features. I'll just select description, that's fine. And yeah, sure, celebrities, that's fine. English will be the language. I want application JSON here. My subscription key, I think it's still on my clipboard. I better double check that. Copy and paste. right there. And then that's the whole thing, except for here's the body of it. I said application JSON, so I'm going to send JSON as the body. This is a make-believe URL. I want a real URL here. So let's send it a picture of something. Let's see. How about I go out to Bing. What should I search for? How about Uruguay soccer? Go to the images here. See if I can find a. I didn't like that. Did I spell Uruguay wrong? Oh, I did. That's why. And let's get a picture that actually, an interesting picture here. Oh, here's one. He's yelling, goal! Wonder how that translated. Come on, click. I'm going to reboot here. Go to Bing. I'll spell it right this time. Uruguay. I'll say soccer. Images, right there. And we'll just take that one. And click. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so here's a URL of an image of a soccer game. And I want to go back to here. And that's what I'll paste in here. So there's my JSON, URL colon, and then the URL of it. And now I can submit it. And in fact, if you use a tool like Fiddler or Postman, this is actually the request you're going to send. That's the URL right here. It built it out for me. You could copy that into your code. Here's the head. It's a post. And you can see there's some header information like content type. It obfuscated my subscription key. There's the body of it right here. I'll click send. Hopefully I'll get a 200 back. Right there. I did 200. That means everything is okay. And there's some header information, but I really care about the body. This is the information I got. And what did I get here? A group of young men playing a game of football. That's pretty good. It's 78% sure that's right. And here's some tags: grass, person, soccer, ball, playing field, player. Yeah, we call it soccer. We just do. I don't know why. So that's it. So this is the API right here. If I go back one, let me see if I can find it here. And you want to build this into your applications. This is .NET Conf, right? So a lot of people are C# developers, right? Raise your hand if you're a C# developer. Raise your hand, lower your hands. Raise your hand if you are developing in a language other than C#. Which one? Shout out a language. Java. So if I don't know anything about Java, but if I'm going to write a Java app, look right here, down at the bottom. There's the code to call this web service in Java. Here's the code to call it in C#, right here. Here's the code to call it from JavaScript or Objective-C or PHP or Python or Ruby or from curl. And this is the beauty of this. These are web services. It's using HTTP, and it's using JSON, and it's using REST. Those are all standards. So this is probably not as relevant to you guys because there's a lot of .NET developers in the audience. But if you're not developing in .NET, if you're developing in JavaScript or in Java or PHP, it doesn't care. It's a standard. Any language, any platform, any operating system that can make a web service call and send and receive images and text can call these things. It's really a technology agnostic service. So we can use it from just about anything. Let me see. So I want to show some examples of applications that I've written. Are there questions right now? Okay. All right, let's go. Put my applications right in here. Let's do the one for we'll stick with that analyze image demo. I wrote this one. It's a C# application. I think it's a UWP app. I've forgotten, but it's a Windows app of some kind. And you can see in here what I've got. I'll actually run the app. so you can see it. But what I've got is a screen with a picture on it, and it's a picture of a kitten because the internet was built on pictures of kittens. And you can change that image by this drop-down list. I put a few sample images in here. And when I click this button, I'll do that in a second, it'll call the web service. I'll do it now. Click, there we go. Analyzing, and then depending upon the speed of your internet connection, it'll come back with some information that I'm going to display on screen. Oh, this is because I have spotty internet connection, I think. Yeah, so let me just restart it. Do it again. I should put some error handling in here. Try it once more. And yeah, so it worked the second time because the Wi-Fi on here is not great. All right, it is a cat looking at a bird. That's pretty good. Cat, he's actually looking away from the bird, but you can see cat, animal, white, outdoor. How did I call that? Well, in C#, of course, has this HTTP library here. Let's see. So in my code, let me bump that up a little bit here so you can see it. Probably. And I'll go full screen as well. Yeah, it's a little better. All right, so what I have here is I pull the key out of my config file. I've got a little utility that pulls it out there. And then this HTTP client is what .NET uses to connect to call web services. Using this HTTP client right here, I can set headers like the subscription key. I can set some parameters, some query string parameters right here. I can set the URI is this blah 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 blah, etc. And my URL, I just pull it out of this text box right here. I grab that, and then I turn it into JSON right here. That's how you get JSON. I really just copied this code from that web page that I showed you. It's almost word for word this stuff down here. Don't tell my boss I did this, but I'm really basically a copy-paste developer. All right, so in here, and then here's where I actually make the web service call. I get a response back, and I check to see this is success status code. That'll return true if it's a 200 response that comes back, and if it is, then I get all this stuff back here and deserialize it. I'm using the Newtonsoft libraries to deserialize JSON. And this stuff here, actually, I can create these things. If I just create strongly typed objects, this is a nice key in .NET. If you're dealing with JSON, then you can create some objects. Let's see. Oh, yikes, didn't mean to do that. View solution explorer, that's what I want to do. And in my models, I have these strongly typed objects that have things like here's the results back here. It's an array of categories. It's a score for whether it's adult or not. It's an array of tags. And what is a category? Well, I can look at that and see that a category is a name and a score, meaning what's the confidence level of it. So things like that. So by just simply creating those objects, then I can return strongly typed objects from JSON. Here. So that's what I'm doing. And here I'm just parsing all that stuff out, getting a description, and I display that in a text box in the form. I loop through all of the tags, and I display them in a list box. I also get the RACI score. And if the RACI score is above 0.3, then I display I have a special image that's hidden by default, and I make it visible. So there's actually one of these images in here. I don't want to alarm you, but there's one image that has a score of 0.31. And there I'll show you the RACI image. So let me go down to here. This next image, this is not it. This is a bird, so click that. And I get a bird flying in the air, bird animal. That's all good stuff. I think this is my RACI image. Yeah, it's this fellow. His belly button is showing. And I click on that, and I get back the description, plus the RACI score is 0.31. Oh, Macaulay says, he says it. And then actually, I did this talk last year at Disney the company. They're located in Orlando, Florida, and I wanted to do something that they could relate to. So I searched the web, and I found pictures that belong to Disney, like this one. So Disney now owns Star Wars, and so this is now a Disney character. And I said, let's show it up on a Disney one. So I analyzed that, and I was surprised because the caption came back as Mark Hamill. It recognized the actor, but it didn't recognize a lightsaber. He's holding a tennis racket, is what it's saying here. I should show the confidence level there, but I don't. All right. How are we for time? Okay, 10 minutes, I said. All right. That last guy went like 20 minutes over, though, so I could probably go all day, right? All right, let's go. I'll show you another demo. Back in here, let's do some emotions right here. Another Windows application, and in this one, before I go, I should show you a JavaScript application. But for now, I'll do this one. This isn't using the computer vision, it's using the face API. It's a different key, but it's really similar in terms of the code. So when I run this thing, I'll run it right now. When I run it, I'm going to I get the key out of a config file, I create an HTTP client, I set some headers. This is really the same code we saw before, it's just this is a different URL. It's cognitive.microsoft.com/emotion right here, instead of /custom vision, I think it was, or /analyze, I think is what it was before. And then over here we have calling the web service, getting a response, checking the status code, and then I get that data back, and I start parsing out the JSON that comes back, and then I want to display just the raw JSON, and then I do some stuff here to loop through all the faces. So what the Emotion API does is it will detect all the faces in an image. It'll return an array of faces, and for each face, it'll return 8 scores, 8 values. And the 8 values correspond to 8 potential emotions. There are happiness, sadness, angry, neutral, disgust, fear, I don't know, there's 8 of them. And, here they are right here, disgust, fear, what did I say, surprise, and contempt. And it'll give a score for each of those. So typically, one of them will be the high. One will be way above. If somebody's obviously very angry, then that score will be very high. And the rest will be very low. But sometimes you can't really tell whether somebody's angry or disgusted. And that's what I did here. I have some images right here. Here's a girl. She's obviously angry. And when I click it, it runs that code. I get some JSON back, and I show the raw JSON right here. And then I loop through, and I just say, it's hard to read this, so I say, here's the scores. Anger, 0.92. Contempt, 0.00. So anger is 92%. Everything else is like 1 or 2% at the most. And then I have a little code that just checks to say which one is the highest. Anger is the highest. So I'll clear that, and I'll do sad LeBron, because he lost. Sad. He was happy last year. And I get back, all these scores right here. He's 85% sad, sorry. Poor LeBron. He's rich, though, so whatever. This is, let me clear these. Here's a bunch of people. Looks like they're all happy. I'd give them all 100% happy, but I've done this before. I know it's not 100%. So I get an array back. They actually were all arrays. The first 2 were just arrays with 1 element. And I can see that for each one, for face 1, you can see happiness is the highest one. So I summarize it here. So face 1 is 98% happy, 99% happy, 99% happy. A couple of them are 100% happy. I think the ones that are lower, my guess, maybe this person right here whose smile is slightly obscured, or right here. You can't see the smile as well. So those probably have the slightly lower score. And what else do I have? I'll grab this one right here. This is a bunch of faces, which some of them are happy, some are sad. There are lots of emotions on here. It looks like the same woman in every picture. But there it is, anger, surprise, sadness, happiness, neutral, and sadness. What did I have? I can't remember. So I gotta clear these. Oh yeah, my Star Wars. Yeah, so this is, what's his name again? Kylo Ren, yeah. Yeah, so Adam Driver, every movie you see him in, he has this exact same expression on his face. He's always neutral throughout this entire movie. He's never real angry or sad. He's a neutral guy. And then I just added this one like a month ago because somebody shouted out, why don't you do the Mona Lisa? Sure. Why not? She's neutral. Yeah, I thought that was cool. All right, I think I have time for one more demo. Let me show you a JavaScript demo. I think this stuff is so cool. And I'll tell you what, so before I show you this demo, I'll really quickly point you to my GitHub page because these demos are all available. If I go to github.com/myname, David, Giard, right there. Then I have a whole set of cognitive services. The very first one up here, cognitive services demo. You can see the source code because I'm not standing up here today so that you can learn how to analyze SAD LeBron and write that code. I'm showing you this because what I hope is that you're thinking to yourself, I could do this. This is not that hard. I can add some very, very cool features to my applications with just a few lines of code. And that's what cognitive services does. It kind of democratizes machine learning. It takes something that's relatively difficult and makes it pretty easy to add it to your application. So a few lines of code can really enhance your application. So I will show you one more demo here. What's a good one here? How about, here's a face demo. So this one just recognizes faces, and if I look at, let me do this, CMD, code. I'll show this in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a really nice tool. It's nice and lightweight. It takes like 1 minute to download and 1 minute to install, and it runs on a PC or a Mac, which is cool. And you can use it for a lot of different languages. Here I'm using it for JavaScript. And in this case, I've got a script right here that does, will make this, here's how you make the call in from JavaScript. I get my subscription key, I get my URL from a text box on the screen. I'm actually using jQuery in this case. I think I'm the last person on the planet to still be using jQuery, but there it is. Here's my web service URL, and then here's how in jQuery how you do a post. You post to that URL. In the header, I add this key, content type is application JSON, and then the data is this JSON here, URL : and whatever that is. And it's all asynchronous, so when it's done, I get back this data, and then I just loop through it. I get the length, and here I get an array of faces. For simplicity, I just grab the first face that defines, and then I get things like there's a face ID, there's the face rectangle. The face rectangle has a width, height, left, and top, and I use some CSS tricks to draw a little rectangle around that. And then it also has face landmarks, so you can tell where are the eyes, where's the pupil of the left eye, the pupil of the right eye, where is the mouth, not just where's the mouth, but where's the left and right edge of the mouth and the top of the mouth and so on, and where's the nose, all that information. So if you want to do maybe a face swapping app or something like that, all that information is there for you. And then again, I use some CSS to just display that on the screen. So what'll happen is that if I just show this page right there, then this person right here shows up and it calls the web service. I get that JSON back, and through the magic of CSS, I get a little yellow rectangle around that person's face, and it's, I'll have to zoom in here so you can see it a little better, but I put labels on here to say, you know, left and right, nose and mouth, and you can see you could do something like that with, do something interesting to maybe change him from happy to sad or something like that. All right, so let's see. I think I got about 2 minutes. I think I have time for one more demo, don't I? He's saying no, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's do this. I don't want to cut into your coffee break. Hey, I'll tell you what. I won't do it. Instead of doing a demo, I just want to show you this. That I showed that there's actually a flaw in this. There's a flaw in this application. And the flaw is that right here, the subscription key, I am sending the subscription key over HTTP. I'm actually bringing it down to the client, and I'm sending it over HTTP. Now, it's HTTPS, so there's some security there, but I'm passing subscription key down to the client, which is a security hole, a potential security flaw. Really what I ought to do is only pass that subscription key on the server. And so if you look at this right here, the face right here, this is a .NET application that does exactly the same thing as that JavaScript application does, but instead of passing that key from my client-side JavaScript to Cognitive Services, what I did is I set up a web service in front of Cognitive Services. And here I use Web API to do that. So right here in my controller, I have this face controller, and if you send something, if you post something to API/face, then it'll run this. And this code, it's C# code, but it does exactly the same as that JavaScript code that I showed you, except that before it calls the web service, it gets the, where is it?
it gets my key out of a config file on the server. And then in my JavaScript right here, all I do is I call that that API/face. I just call that. That way I don't have to. So this is the same code. It does exactly the same thing, but it's a little bit more secure because that API key is not being passed down to the client. Are we at time? Okay. I'm going to close now just by showing you this. I have one slide. Oh, I have two slides. This is me. You want to contact me. And these are some links that I've done. There's the What Dog and How Old site. There's some cool videos of people that have done some amazing things with like building in applications that allow blind people to take in the world around them and speak out to say, read the menu for them, tell them whether people are engaged and listening to them and looking at them, who's talking to them. YouTube is using some face authentication they're using cognitive services to do authentication. That's not YouTube, sorry. Uber is using face authentication to do to make sure that when drivers sign in, they want to make sure that you are the driver that signed in because there's background checks done on Uber drivers, and if I just if I do a background check, if Uber does a background check on me, and I give my password to my cousin, and he starts driving with my password, who knows? My cousin might be a maniac, and this is a way of getting around that. Is that now you not only have to sign in, but you have to take a picture of yourself and prove that it's you. And Cognitive Services helps with that. It'll even say, take off your glasses because the picture we have on file doesn't have glasses on. To get started, go to Microsoft.com/cognitive. That'll redirect you to the right site. These are my GitHub demos right here. I will stick around for questions afterwards. I'm very happy to talk to you. I thank you so much for your time. My name is David. Adios.